There we go.
Oh,
Okay. So,
Going to be one of those things. So go ahead. Do you want to interview me? Go ahead.
so please, actually, we're doing an impromptu interview with Peg explaining a generational aspect from the late 50s to 60s that most people are not aware of. That's a little hidden aspect of the boomer generation. So Peg, start off with naming that generation that we don't know about, and continue from there, please.
It is known as the Jones generation, and I've also seen it as Generation Jones. Okay. So it's a 10-year cohort of people from 1956 to 1965, and we did not do as well as the boomers. We had a totally different economic climate. Like with retirement and things, we were our parents' generation was slotted into, like, just do this, just to go to college, just do this, you'll get a house, you'll do that, you'll invest in this, you'll be great, and you'll be sitting in your rocking chairs and so that's not what happened.
When did the phrase "keeping up with the Joneses" start to become popular?
In the 1960s, okay, when...
do you remember? I mean, obviously we're not there, but can you recollect about what year you started hearing the phrasing or being cognizant that people were saying "keeping up with the Joneses"? Well,
my father is a famous radio disc jockey, okay, so I was with celebrities right off, people
name?
in the music business. Harv Moore.
Okay.
He's the pandemic. He retired because of the pandemic, because he was on air since I'm a little girl.
Okay.
And he, because of that world that we were in, I would see that. And he would use that expression, oh, they're just trying to, and my parents never, they weren't in the wealth grab like that. They didn't. It wasn't that, we have to have, all right, we got enough money, we have to have this car now, we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to do that, we have to have that condo, no. And I also recognize that, with that people were just people and all of that. But what I was going to say is one of the things that really struck me with consumerism, even as a small child, and this is where we can influence children, was Charlie Brown's Christmas. Okay, and what you see there is exactly what was happening. Okay, the consumerism with Christmas, and you have to have, and you got to keep up. And
I'll be honest, I don't recollect if I've seen Charlie Brown's Christmas, but now I need to watch it.
Yes,
and I'll be looking at it differently than even if I had watched it.
Yes,
versus understanding, because my parents, they taught us, especially my dad, because he loves history. We're doing a quick interview. My dad would bring up stuff like that, where the cartoons and the entertainment, if you actually connect together when it was coming out with what was in the entertainment and connect it together, he'd be like, you'll learn a lot.
It's so true. And that's where they started with Saturday morning cartoons, feeding us, when I was an older teenager, okay, I was watching two children, this is in the 80s, watching, or older in my 20s, okay, these two children that were sitting there at the TV, and a brother and sister, and they're going, I'm getting that, and I'm getting that. Every commercial, I'm getting that, I'm getting that. The back and forth, just sitting with them for that half hour, I was like, I'm getting that, I'm getting that, I'm good. Toys that were like where your mother was going to have to go stand online for 200 hours, that kind of toy. I'm getting that.
Yep.
So, and then the parents, okay, it's their fault that they opted into this, okay, and standing online for your kid to get a Cabbage Patch Kid. Come on. My parents would never, would never, do any of that. And then here it goes, the oh boy, could I go on this consumerism, the collectibles, the pressure to collect, like here, okay, this. Now, on the other hand, I try to tell people, don't buy into this. Don't buy into the FOMO, okay? And even Gary would tell you, you don't have the money. You don't have the money, you know?
Yep. That's the biggest reason why I have not actually invested in a VeeFriends character yet is because I keep reminding myself the amount of times when they first started VeeFriends, how many times Gary actually said, and I heard him say it on Spaces, on everywhere, if you don't have the money, don't invest yet.
Yes.
Wait, don't. If you're struggling to pay your bills, don't invest.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Pay your bills first.
I know.
Use extra money to invest. That's what you do with investing. You take that and you reinvest what you have. You don't take what is feeding you and put it in there, because then it becomes stressful. Too stressful.
I saw this with the lottery, okay? Again, I was a teenager working in a store, and they brought in the lottery. And then when I got married, my father-in-law asked me to take him to a store because it was the first time that the lotto was $1 million, okay? So I get in the Bronx, there we get there, and there's this line, okay, going around the thing, and there's people who have their penny jars, and you're getting all the way up to the line there. You know, this is don't spend more than you could afford to lose, right? And people were spending their entire welfare check. Dan, take care. People were spending their entire welfare check, okay, on this one thing. And, I didn't even want to buy a ticket after that. I wanted to go vomit somewhere. When the guy said, people no more pennies, when they came in, the cashier, you know.
It's funny that you bring up the lotto, because for me, there's certain things that now that I have the freedom to pretty much do whatever the fuck I want, I still have yet to buy a lotto ticket. And part of it is that every time I've thought to go to it, I'm just like, this is such a fucking waste of money. Plus, again, in the back of my mind is my dad and my mom teaching me as a kid, you know, that, like, the lotto, sweetie, is a joke.
Yeah.
It's a gamble. It's a joke.
It is.
You know, and to have that connection point.
You know, all of these things, like I said, they're just really intertwined. And when I look it over and I see what happened, like you're saying, how did this happen? Okay. Yeah. Just the amount of these lotteries and all this. So I again, that stationery store I worked in, I had the most phenomenal boss. Okay. He would not allow us to buy any tickets like in his store or anything. And then, even though we were of age, and he said, listen, I'm going to tell you something. So the numbers that people play, the 3 numbers, that's 50 cents for, 3 numbers, right? And then for the box, you pay 50 more cents. So it's $1 to play that. So he said to me, since those are astronomical and they may come in 10 years and everything, he said, every day, he said, if you take $1, that $1 you were going to spend on the numbers. Now, he said there's other ones that could, like in Vegas, right? If you took one and you would put it on a mega, that's different because that's, But with these, he said, if you put your money in a jar every day in 250 days, which is you want the $250 to $100, $250,
exactly. Yep. So, I want to go back to the Joneses part.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
You have no idea in my mind how much I'm enjoying this conversation and the fact that we even decided to record it and put it out there as time goes on, because it's powerful. With the Joneses generation, did you see the difference between the boomers and the Joneses?
Oh, sure.
And then, as a community, how did the Joneses feel about that, as well as when that phrase, keeping up with the Joneses, came out? What do you think spurred that on? Well,
I'll tell you, the boomers 10 years ahead of us, okay? I graduated in 1976 to high school. My husband graduated in 74. Okay, as like all those milestones we were supposed to reach, no, there was the one of the first economic troubles, okay, in the late 70s. And like I'm telling you, they told us, okay, if you go to college, you should, you two people going to college, you guys should have a house, like within maybe 2 years, you'll be able to, like with a really good job, you'll have that house. No, that was the first place where we got, okay, then we had college debt, okay, that wasn't getting paid, where the boomers didn't have that college debt. College was cheaper, okay, they got a free college in a lot of Berkeley, okay, those types of college, Berkeley College, okay, where you could go get the finest education anywhere back then, free. So, I had friends that moved from New York to go to California to establish residency so they could go to these schools,
Okay. All right.
And so anyway, there wasn't that college debt. But when we got to us, okay, all of a sudden it was like, oh, now you need another course, and now you need another course, and oh, you're not qualified enough, and now we're going to go for a master's, okay, and now. But there was that whole mill behind that too, okay, trying to get your money and.
So basically, you guys had to fight harder.
Yes.
To get to where you needed to be.
These so-called milestones, okay, and then at the place where they say to you, even before a house, okay, oh, you should be able to buy a car. Oh no, the interest rates went up, the cars were crazy, and I had an old wreck that was the family's, but. Yes, yeah, exactly. I had to put all these. You ever hear the story about Sasha Vaynerchuk, about how he had to put all the fluids in the car to go to the job in New Jersey? That was me. I had to go to my job. I'm going to tell Gary that story someday, or Sasha. I had that same thing. Okay, to go to a job. So, but the so that 10 years, those people that were 10 years ahead of us are much better off. They had investments, they had good college, they didn't have the debt, okay? And then the other economic stuff, okay? So in the 80s, that's where you started to see where a person of high level would have one secretary. And all of a sudden, the person at the high level was doing the job of 10 secretaries and their own job. And that's where you saw all this. And they started cutting jobs and, cutting the fat. And in some cases, it was right, because there was a lot of fat, like people that would take these 3 martini lunches and things, But in a lot of cases, there wasn't, okay?
I mean, even today, people increasingly are upset about the taxes changing and not being able to expense this or expense that. And it's kind of like, at what point should your business be financially capable enough that you don't rely on a tax break from the government,
right,
listed as an expense simply because that's the way it's always been? Mm-hmm. Like, at what point do we recognize that as a business owner, it is our responsibility to ensure that whatever the expense is, we can handle it?
Right.
And if we can't, then...
Because otherwise, we're just going to other people for sources of money, like they could, and wealthy people saying, "Oh, you people on benefits, you're going to people for other sources of money." No, it's it's the same handout, right?
It sucks. Yeah, it sucks.
It sucks having to go right.
Yeah, it's going to cut into your profits.
Yes.
Pivot. Mm-hmm. Gary says that all the time. Pivot. Mm-hmm. Change it. You're in control of that.
So I was going to say about the milestones, okay? So where in 1987, there was the first crash. I had a beautiful job. I lost my job. They put me on hiatus. I was doing really well. So that was 1987. Then
that's the year I was born.
See, that was the first. Yeah, that was the first. It was the worst economic downturn since the Depression. That was the first one. So then the 90s, okay, we had another one. And we lost, I don't know how much money in our 401ks, okay? And then September the 11th, okay? I had friends who were about to retire in September the 11th. They were just a couple years, like in the Jones, maybe like 1 or 2 years above, and worked for Merrill Lynch and made all this money, okay? And I swear, I thought, I was worried they were going to jump off the building too, because they went from their million nest egg down to maybe nothing, where they were probably going to have to keep working and not retire. So
I would say a personal experience that I don't bring up much. at one point I used to work with someone as a process server, and I still remember serving widows in 2008 of serving them the paperwork because their husbands had committed suicide because they didn't see a way forward. And not only having to deliver those papers was awful, but seeing them, the wives looking at it like, what do I do with this? What do I do now? Like, just looking around at their house, their BMW, everything. And they're like, he killed him. Like, I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And to see that emotional impact of, I can't remember what it was, Jesse yesterday, him talking about our relationship with money is imperative just because of that. Like, how much better would an economic recession be if, yeah, it sucks that it's happening, because it is happening. Mm-hmm. But if we have a good relationship with money, we will see the way forward. Mm-hmm. And I truly hope that as the economy continues to do what it does, hopefully we don't start seeing people doing that. Mm-hmm. Because for me, when I started seeing that, it impacted what I was watching on the news and understanding and connecting all of the dots.
See, these are all the things that make up you, you know, that's like all the jobs that we do, all these things. You think that, you know, it's, oh, this is just a little, I have to do this, it's just a little job, yep. Let me, you know, but you get to see like maybe the darker side, you get to see, and it just makes you have so much empathy, sympathy, and then, but also broader because you're so smart, okay, you have a business sense about it and a vision. You know Seema Alexander? Yeah, her story. Okay, she was one of the speakers at the community stage. Okay, and she's a mentor to me. But her story is she's Indian, and her parents had the most famous, best Indian restaurant in Washington D.C., right across from whatever building, and they went under. They didn't know how to manage a building. I mean, a business. And that's what she does. Okay, after watching her own family. Everything and have nothing to show for all of that stuff and all that work. So that's what she does. She's a business accelerator and also does, beautiful. You know, but you see that's you because you have that, now you had that experience and you're saying, but if, see, I don't have that experience but you just put it all together for me. I mean, I was listening as you're saying, it was like click.
Hey, that's the beauty of universal connection and just listening to each other. I know this morning Guy or Raz talked about that. Like, he was asked, you know, how do you build a relationship with someone when you know it's about business but you want to actually build trust? And I would say my favorite takeaway phrase from VeeCon so far has been what he eventually rounded out was active respect of one another, having that respect for each other and actively showing each other that time and that energy and listening and connecting. That's exactly what it is, because you're helping me connect some of the dots about my family. I always assumed my parents were part of the boomers, but technically speaking,
no,
they weren't.
They're not, and their benefits were not as good. My father-in-law, worked as a concrete laborer. Okay, and they. I'll tell you the rest of the story.
I wonder if you ever knew my grandpa, because they lived in New York at the time, and he was a master marblesman.
Oh wow!
The UN wall, his contract. He was the foreman for the contractors that eventually built the wall.
Wow!
Maybe they.
My
never know.
My father-in-law built both World Trade Center towers. Okay, he's the first guy up on the steel after the Native American Union, and the Italian concrete workers, right? So
they probably knew each other.
They probably knew each other. The concrete, marble, and all those guys. They're called Mason. It's a Mason.
Yeah,
so yeah,
he was.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a Mason. It was, Grandpa Vicari.
So they didn't, okay, because even like your parents, even if your father was a mechanic back then, they would have been told, oh, okay, just get a nice job as a mechanic. You're going to get this. You're going to get benefits. You're going to get retirement. This is that, and your wife could stay at home, and your kids are going to blah 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 blah. So it's not what happened. And with those benefit cuttings, so my father-in-law, he used to get all these notices coming in the house, right? He had phenomenal benefits, and these notices coming in the house, and the men who were currently employed were getting their benefits cut in half, so they didn't have what he had. And my husband's also on construction; he's a civil engineer, and there's a thing called making book. So when you're in a union, you have to do so many hours to be eligible for benefits, right? So what they would do is, that's called making book. As soon as you would make book, they would lay you off, so you would never have benefits. They'd just get another guy and let him level up. And okay. That's how these unions play. And then you have no benefits, and you have...
Wow. Okay. All right. That's one last question to wrap up this impromptu interview with you, Peg. Quick. What is 1-2 pieces of advice you can give to generations today? Because one of the things I notice is that there's a disconnect. People argue, oh, you're Xers, we can't get along, or you're millennials, or your generation, whatever the fuck. Yet, what you're showing is that Joneses had it harder, but Boomers and Joneses pegged off of each other and worked as time goes. Because I firmly believe that the phrase keeping up with the Joneses wouldn't exist if you guys hadn't had to work harder, and the Boomers weren't behind you going, wait a second, we got to keep up.
Yeah.
Because, Joneses had it harder, but like Gary and so many others explain, if you have to work harder for it, you're gonna do better.
Yes. And here's another thing. My son is 47 years old, okay? That generation did worse than us. Okay, those people, this is who I focus on now, okay? I focus on people 50 to 70 because, I could go later, okay? But Gary is talking about that too right now. And so you have to pick a road and a focus. But those 50-year-olds, they're in there too. My daughter-in-law, she's a voiceover artist for Pokemon characters. Doesn't understand Web3 yet.
Any of my family over the age of 50, the only one I know that would have been very interested in Web3 was my grandpa Vicari. And he was the first one in our family to pick up a digital camera. He had a computer. He got the internet as soon as he could. And the family, I remember as a kid watching the family asking him, why do you... The digital camera's not good. The picture quality. And you remember him saying, yeah, but look at this. I can take as many pictures as I want, and if it doesn't come out good, I can just delete it.
Right? Oh, he's so smart.
And I know it's not as good. He's like, but they're going to keep developing this.
He's so smart.
Yep.
So that's my number one advice, okay, is stop living in the past and start adapting, okay? You have to be happy. You're going to have to do this. And we have to encourage people this age to do that because with each technological revolution, there's people left behind. And think about this time. If we leave, people are living longer. Okay, and what are we going to do? We're going to have another subclass of people that are going to have, be on some type of benefit system for the rest of our lives. I mean, like a large section of people, because they're going to be alive and doing nothing, and they're going to be told, how the World Economic Forum says you'll do nothing and be happy and you'll have it. That's what That's the sinister stuff, okay?
That makes me think of Wall-E. Wall-E came to mind, and I'm like, ooh.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I love Wall-E, but ooh, I don't like that feature.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So we have to start We have to start adapting, and you have to give it some. Just we're talking about patience. Okay, you're learning something. You're learning something. So you got and so the younger folks, instead of they have to be a little bit more encouraging instead of grabbing the phone. Okay, that's one thing that really, because you see how I can work a phone. Okay, you haven't even seen how I can work a phone, Brittany. Okay, and when somebody goes to do that for me, and I'm like,
man. That and I fought the urge to put my headphones on and listen to music as I was coming in, because for me, part of how I decompress and chill is just listening to some music and walking around or whatever. But I didn't do that. I chose not to, because like you said, adapting, I recognize that if I do that, the second I do that, I close off people from being able to talk.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm giving the signal, I'm communicating a signal that I don't want to be interrupted.
Right.
And I didn't want to communicate that today. I wanted to have these conversations.
I'm so happy. We should do a session, okay?
Yeah.
So that's